Hello, this is Jenny at Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by today. My card today is a little bit of a throwback, like the one from last week, and it involves some Emboss Resist. This is a technique I learned a long time ago called Joseph's Coat, I think. The first step is to take this panel of white cardstock and blend some colors onto the cardstock. I am using a blue, a green, and a yellow just because I know if I overlap these colors at any point in time, they will blend and make a nice color, not a muddy, weird brown or gray color. I am using these blender brushes because I find that they work really well on dye ink for ink blending. I don't have a ton of success with ink blending as a general rule, but it's also not something I've done a lot of because it's not my go-to technique. Know what I mean? So anyway, I'm just trying to get the green and the yellow and the blue down on this card base so that I can perform a little bit of magic for you. Just kidding, it's not magic. Well, it is magic. I think a lot of crafters have gotten sucked in by the embossing and embossed resist techniques because it is so cool to watch. And I hope that we'll be able to see it on this video since I will be using a little bit different card base than I used in last week's card video. I have not done this card technique, this embossing resist technique, in a long time. And the first time I did it, it scared the pants off of me, no lie. And I will tell you where I got scared when we get there. But right now, I'm just going back and forth with my yellow and my green and my blue and adding until there's not a lot of white showing through. I don't care if the color is even or blended or anything like that because you won't be able to tell at the end. What you will notice is if there's any white of the cardstock showing through. So that's what I don't want. I don't want any of that cardstock peeking through, especially that dark blue color. That would be really obvious. And it would be disappointing in the end if that was what you could see. Let me know in the comments below if you have ever done embossing resist, if you have ever heat embossed, and let me know down below what technique you want me to try or what kind of video you want me to shoot. Are you tired of card videos, tired of mixed media, more jelly plate, less jelly plate? Let me know. I am all about all the crafts, so I am willing to do what you guys want me to make within reason if it is in my wheelhouse, even remotely. I am willing to go for disaster if that's what it takes. Okay, so I have taken my heat tool and dried that out because I will be putting embossing powder on this card panel, and I don't want the embossing powder to stick to the ink there. And I am using this, I think it's called Inspired by Nature, and the fact that that stamp is purple tells you how old of a Stampin' Up! Stamp this is. It is old, but I love it because it's a silhouette stamp and it takes up the whole card front. So it's just like the perfect size. It's the perfect image for when you don't know what to do to a card, right? We've all been there. We've needed a card and not really know what to do with it. Now, I want this kind of in the middle, but kind of offset in the middle. Like I don't want it square in the middle. Plus, I want it to go off the panel a bit so there's no open edge on the bottom. Know what I mean? Okay, so now that I have the stamp placed, I am going to powder up my background with my embossing buddy bag. I don't know what the name of it is. And I have a gator clip or a binder clip clipped onto that just so that I can hold it without getting all that chalk all over my fingers. The point of an embossing bag, and I highly recommend that you do not get used to embossing without it because it makes a huge difference. All of the sweat and oils and stuff in your skin stick to the paper. And if you have not used your embossing buddy, then your embossing powder will also stick to your fingerprints and it can mess up your image. Believe me, been there, done that. I kind of burned the project. Okay, maybe I didn't burn it. I just flipped it over and started over. But whatever, you know what I mean. Okay, this is a pretty solid image stamp and it is going to take multiple stampings and a little bit of firm pressure. And I made myself a little bit nervous because I don't have tape on the back of this paper and I didn't use a magnet. So as I'm getting ready to stamp it again, I'm like, oh, crossing my fingers and my toes that the paper didn't shift. Oh, what is the point of using a MISTI if you're not going to use it the right way, Jenny? Come on now. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so there we have, and obviously it's inked really well because the paper stuck to the stamp that time. So I am going to take my clear embossing powder, and I have dumped my embossing powders into this little, it's actually a pencil box, but I like it because it's big enough for me to stick the whole card front down in there, and I don't have to worry about papers and coffee filters and stuff. I've only done that for my clear and my white and my black. All of my specialty ones are still in their containers. So I am taking this dry brush, and I'm just kind of removing any powder that's stuck to that ink. And there's a couple of places on the edge where I didn't use my embossing buddy very well. And you can see that flower shape. It doesn't look great. It looks kind of foggy and weird and granular, but you can see the shape of that stamp on top of my blended background. And I am just going to keep adding embossing powder and tapping out the extra until I feel like the entire image has been thoroughly coated in powder. Now, like I said, this is a clear embossing powder. It is very similar to the card I made last week, and I am going to heat set it, and that will make those flowers resist any other ink I attempt to put on this card front. And because I used clear, not white ink, or I'm sorry, powder, you will see those blended colors behind it. The green and the blue and the yellow will come through that clear embossing powder. So when it's done, it's not really visually appealing, but like you can see it and you can feel it, and it looks cool because it's raised up off of the paper, but there's not much to see here. Okay, here comes the scary part. I am going to take a Swiffer dust pad or dust cloth because I did feel like I had a little bit of stray embossing powder on my paper there. And here comes see, look how shiny that is. Isn't that cool? But here comes the scary part. And the first time I did this, I about had a heart attack. That's black ink, people. That is black ink. That is Simon Says Stamp Intense Black Ink. And I am going right over the top of that blended panel with black ink. Black, you cannot remove it, ink. Yeah. Now you know why the first time I did this, I scared myself. Oh, it was terrifying. But check it out. You can see that flower is resisting the black ink, and you can see the yellow and the green and the blue popping in behind it. Yeah, tell me that's not cool. I don't know how it got its name. Joseph's coat, I think, is the name of this technique. And I'm not sure how it got that name, but yeah, anyways, I am going to continue to add black ink, and I decided here that Simon Says ink was just not covering my Stampin' Up! Ink very well, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do about it yet. So I pulled out a tissue. It's a clean tissue, a dry tissue, no water, no boogers, no anything like that. It is allergy season, you never know, right? And wipe the ink off of those flowers. And I'm trying to decide what I want to do with this. It doesn't feel like it's quite enough. So do I add more? Do I wait? Oh, wait, look, I added more. Yeah. I decided it wasn't enough, so I'm adding more. It's kind of like chocolate chips. If you're never sure if there's enough, you add more, right? But I decided instead to pull out my Memento ink. Now, I think the Simon Says Stamp ink is actually a darker black, if that makes sense. But this Memento ink will cover up that Stampin' Up! Ink just a little bit better. So anyways, I am going to continue to blend this black ink on top of this card base. And anyways, like I was saying, I'm not sure who named this technique, and it is named Joseph's coat, assumedly like Joseph in the coat of many colors in the Bible. I'm assuming that's where it gets its name. But I'm telling you, it is a really cool technique, but the first time you do it, you about have an aneurysm because it's scary to put black ink over all of that blended background. Yikes. Oh, okay. So next I need to create a card base for this card panel. Wow, words are hard. And I have a yellow. It's a dark yellow. Don't know whose brand it is. It's just in my yellow stash. and it is 4¼ inches wide by 11 inches long, and I will score it at 5.5, making a standard US A2 size card that is top folding. That is kind of my go-to. I'm not sure why. That just one day became how I decided I liked my cards. Top folding instead of side folding. I don't know. It just is. And I haven't decided if I want to cut it down or not at this point. And I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the card base and oh, yep. See, you knew where I was going with that. I pulled out my Waffle Flower A2 layers dies, and I'm going to try and decide how much of this I want to cut off. I find that, okay, now A2 layering, you literally can measure that, right? But sometimes it's hard to know how much you want to cut off, which is why I like those dies. I don't know how big this ended up. I'm guessing about 4 by 5.25. It looks like there's about a 1/4 inch edge all the way around, or 1/2 inch edge. I don't know. But that die allowed me to see how much of the panel I was cutting off so that I could figure out exactly how large I wanted it or how small I wanted it to become at the end. So I am going to attach this card panel to my card base with my ATG gun. And except for the blending and the drying with my embossing, or my embossing on my heat tool, this has been a real-time card. I was trying to find some techniques I could do in real time because I know I enjoy watching cards and other projects that are done in real time so that I can get a better understanding of, am I a slow crafter? Am I a fast crafter? Am I being impatient? And should I slow down, or do I need to learn how to speed this up? Just kidding. Don't ever speed up your crafting, because that is your Serenity Now moment. That is your therapy moment, right? I will add a piece of white copy paper to the inside of this card base that is like 4 by 5.25 inches, just because I feel like it gives a clean place to write a message to whoever I send this card to. I have nothing in mind for this card. It was just a technique I hadn't done in a hot minute, and I knew I could do it in real time on a video for you all. And I figured if I hadn't seen it in a hot minute, maybe you guys hadn't seen it in a hot minute. Who knows? Okay, in that Inspired by Nature stamp set, there are a couple of sentiments, and this one says, do good works, I think, or work, something like that. Anyway, I am going to stamp that on this piece of white scrap cardstock. I will stamp it with black ink and then heat emboss it with clear embossing powder so that it has a nice shiny raised surface to the sentiment. It is kind of a solid sentiment, and it's a little bit bigger of a type font. I will be using my first VersaFine, Onyx black ink, because VersaFine does a really crisp, clear stamping, which is good when you're doing sentiments. Oh, live with passion. That's what it says. Live with passion. Not that you can't read that right there, but yeah, anyway, it says live with passion. And I thought that was just a perfect little sentiment to put on this card, because it's very generic as far as sentiments go. I could turn around and use this card for just about any occasion and not have it seem awkward or weird. And let's face it, I do enough awkward and weird. I don't need my cards to be awkward and weird. That's just the reality of the world. I'm already awkward and weird. I own it. I embrace it. I understand it. I will be using these A2 Waffle Flower dies to trim that sentiment down just because they were already on my desk. I could have pulled out my trimmer, but these were already on my desk. So I just picked the one that kind of fit around it. I wanted it kind of small and tight, not taking up very much of the card front. And I will tape that down with a little bit of Post-it tape and turn around to my left side where my die cut machine is and cut that out. And I am going to adhere this sentiment down with my ATG gun. Just lay it flat right there on the card. I don't want to add any more bulk because, like I said, I don't know where this card is going. So there you go. So let me know, thumbs up, thumbs down, like my channel, subscribe to my channel, share my channel, and let me know what you want me to see. Leave me a comment. I respond. And even if you don't like it, let me know that too, because hey, sometimes you got to know what people don't like too. Have a great day.